Hey, what would your Fursona be if you were a furry? I'd definitely be a wolf or something, but not like I'd actually be a furry though. Unless... What the fuck is wrong with you? With the spring 2020 anime season wrapping up, we are left with only a few notable series that aren't sequels. Being a highly anticipated manga adaptation, Gleipnir is hitting the stage at a time where many are watching in earnest to see if it's even worth a look between heavy hitters like Kaguya Love is War and Tower God. In today's review, I'll be going over its story, characters, music, animation, and general fun factor to see if Gleipnir is worth the watch. Story. Shuichi Kaguya is an average high school student, with one exception. For reasons he cannot remember, he can transform into a monster. One night, he sees a burning building and rushes over, saving Claire Aoki in the process. Unfortunately for Shuichi, he left his phone at the scene, allowing Claire to use it as blackmail to tell her everything he knew about the monsters. And upon realizing he didn't know anything, using it as bait to prove that he was a monster. From which point, Claire decides to team up with Shuichi in order to find out more about the monsters, as well as the whereabouts of her sister Elena, who used the power of monsters to kill their parents. Well, as it turns out, these monsters come from an alien who crash-landed on Earth, dropping many of his comrades' consciousness in the form of gold coins in the process. In return for returning to him a coin, he will give that person any wish. Give him 100 coins and he'll give you powers greater than you can imagine. I'm not making this shit up, this is revealed in the first couple of episodes and changes the course of the story going forward. In fact, Gleipnir is subject to a lot of focus changes throughout the story. I won't lie, the first half of the series wasn't anything too special. It starts off as horny teenagers fighting monsters, being awkward and horny, and then trying to prevent anyone from gathering 100 coins because that could end the world. And then being even more horny. Seriously, the amount of ass shots started giving me Darling in the Franxx vibes, but the story starts developing at a great pace once we reached about halfway through the series, and from here we see a great development in pacing and understanding of the world and its characters more. In fact, the great amount of praise I have for the show doesn't really start till the later half of the series, so if you haven't already, either watch the show now or skip to the timestamp here if you don't want to be spoiled. Now for everyone else, shit didn't start getting good for me until the fight with Subaru occurred. That is when everything started to find a place in the story. We have defined groups of gatherers hunting the coins in the mountains for their own gains, a more defined goal of reaching the crash site to collect as many coins as possible to end the game before someone gathers 100 coins, and the beginnings of a more robust mystery about Shuichi's powers in the past and how that connects to Elena. But it wasn't until episode 12 where we learned about the first players of the Gathering game did I truly connect and felt the story. The last 4 or so episodes is everything for this show because it's when the fruits of the character developments and the histories of these characters start to intersect, revealing an intensely personal narrative that has simply grew into a possible world-ending conflict. Gleipnir is a slow burn of a show where things are laid out bare in the first half, only to start exponentially flaring up in the later half. Characters. For the most part, the show really only focuses on 2 main characters, being Shuichi and Claire. Shuichi being able to transform into a monster is a timid and innocent boy that doesn't want to see people getting hurt. However, this aspect of him is slowly degraded and corrupted by Claire as the two start equalizing each other. His ability to become a mascot like Wolf isn't just for show, as Claire can climb inside, usually in a very sexual manner, in order to control the suit and increase their fighting ability. Now, there is a lot of symbolism in this process, as the show likes to constantly point out that Shuichi is empty inside. He longs for a purpose in life that is only given to him by Claire as someone who accepts him for everything he is. Though until Claire rubs off on him, he can be annoying, almost Shinji levels of wuss. Claire, on the other hand, was a suicidal, manipulative maniac hell-bent on getting revenge on her sister or die trying. She is clever, cold, hardcore, logical, and acts almost like a narrator of events in the first half. She sees what she wants and will go out of her way to get it, even if there is significant risk in doing so. This coldness aspect of her starts to melt away as the series continues thanks to Shuichi. She's able to transform from a yandere to a more compassionate person towards her allies. There are many other characters in the show, including Shuichi's friends at school like Nana, Claire's gathering group including people like Chihiro Yoshioka, and of course Elena's group of powerful gatherers. There is a wide variety with unique powers and personalities, but only a few of them have backstories told, and even fewer still are highlighted. While that changes a bit in the later half of the story, even with the revelations that we get, this story is still one that centers off of Shuichi and Claire becoming one, which is alright, as there is definitely still mysteries about characters like Elena, and Claire and Shuichi definitely shine on their own, but I feel like when you introduce a load of characters in a shonen seinen, we should probably get to know a bit more and spend time with characters outside of the main duo. Just a thought. Music. Let's start by going over the opening track Altern-ate by Helical. It's this large rock orchestration that employs everything you would want in an epic rock track: strings, ominous choirs, piano, and a driving chorus. It's a good reflection of the show as it has this dark energy in the choirs, but also this typical shonen anime theme with the chorus. It's a good track, you're not going to tire listening to it at all, but it's not something you're going to intentionally not skip over while binging. If I were to look for anything more out of the track, it would be the bring a bit more power, the vocal performance for the chorus, and maybe even more choir elements take center stage. The ending track Ame to Taiki to Nioi by Millie is this blend of what I could almost describe as Zelda-like pianos and chill house. It's a very down-tempo and relaxed song that's like the feeling you get when you wake up hazy from a dream that you remember you liked. It's not anything that's too unique or catchy. I don't find myself seeking this out for my playlist, though I suppose it's more up to your individual tastes, but I just don't get much out of this song other than the bass mood it projects. The background tracks, however, are all over the place. You'll get some incredibly touching piano, then get straight up dubstep in a more high action sections of the show. This electronic music theme is the most prevalent throughout the show, however, as you'll get this high energy electronica backed by choirs and horns or whatever else you can think of. Unfortunately, it's hard to find songs that's outside that one emotional piano track, but you can be assured that the background music shifts between being average and noticeably intense. I'd be very excited if they were to officially release the soundtrack, but for now I'm not going to be holding my breath. Animation. This show looks amazing! In the fight scenes at least. In fact, I'm pretty darn sure that the majority of the budget for this show was spent directly into the later fight scenes. However, I don't think that takes away from how the show is surprisingly well animated. The show for Gleipnir is a very new studio, Pine Jam, with this being the only major undertaking in the past 2 out of its 5-year existence. This means that this is really their first major production for the mainstream anime season and lets us judge the quality from a relatively brand new studio. As such, it has to be said that as far as fight scenes go, they nail it on the head. Everything is fluid, the punches are impactful, the colors are great. But outside of that sphere, we get something that is consistent with the character animations, but lacks in environments and CG. You'll have a painted background with very obvious overlays of the characters over that background, and it can be slightly jarring seeing them move within the environment at times. Also, the CG can move between, bad background cars to horrendous bicycles at times. Seriously, it can be hard to look at, but luckily they don't overuse it and it isn't super prevalent in each episode. So overall, great fight scenes, good character animations, fine backgrounds, okay overlays, and bad CG. Fun factor. Gleipnir is a fun show, only if you stick through to about episode 7. If you liked episode 7 of Gleipnir, it's very likely you'll enjoy the rest of the show with much enthusiasm. Episode 7 and beyond is when things start to get very spicy in the show, from the fights, to the character developments, to the story and character revelations. Everything starts to move from that point on, and it hits its stride as an incredibly engaging piece of thriller with deeply emotional character dramas and fun action sequences. However, there are two things that can detract from the fun. The first is the first half of episodes that you'll have to slog through to reach the hidden jewels. The first half of episodes are slow and hard to engage with, as you'll have Claire and Essence logically explain everything and trap Shuichi in a net of tits and manipulations. Everything is shallow in purpose besides wanting to find Elena, and almost like in an attempt to distract from that, they throw so much fan service at your face it deserves that ecchi tag it gets on Mal, and a lot of the time it really isn't tasteful fan service either, with naked ladies climbing into the fleshy fursuit that is Shuichi, explicit lesbian, possibly unwarranted action, and floppy monster titties. Shit gets weird, real weird. But if you can get past 6 episodes of that, and I can acknowledge that not everyone can or will have the patience to, then you can be gifted with a truly great shonen seinen mystery that'll have you in great need for a season 2. Unfortunately, it's impossible for me to really sell you on the idea of sticking to the halfway point without spoiling it, so I'd suggest that if after watching episode 7 you still don't care, then drop it and move on to something else. Otherwise, at least for me, I'll be hoping for a season 2 to see how everything resolves. Conclusions. Gleipnir is a show that has a striking duality in its quality. Its first half is not very good, but leads into a genuinely great show from episode 7 on. Great battles, good background tracks, excellent emotionally weighted characters, mixed with slow pacing and in-your-face fan service. Averaging all of our scores, I give Gleipnir a final rating of 6.7 out of 10. For alternate recommendations, I believe if you like to see more of a mature show with aliens giving people superpowers, then perhaps Parasite would be a great fit for you. If all you cared about was this idea of horny teens piloting flesh suits to fight bad guys, Darling the Franxx would be a more tasteful fit for you, I guess. Between these, there would be something to your liking. Thanks for watching. I'm Xeo, and I'd appreciate ya if you would subscribe for more weekly anime reviews. If you have seen Gleipnir, leave a comment below of your thoughts. Like the video if you enjoyed, and remember to stay cultured.